guys? It's your boy AJ coming at you once again this morning, or whenever you clicked on the video. I'm not sure. For everybody who's coming back for round two with me, welcome back. And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. So, for those of you who are new to the channel, I'll give you a little bit of background on why I'm doing this real quick so we can go right into what the teaching for today is going to be. Number one, it was about peace on last week. Number two, I'm doing this to get back to how church used to be. And number three, I'm not a pastor. All right, that was quick, wasn't it? I love it. So for this video, we're going to be talking about something that we as adults go through. And maybe not even adults sometimes, maybe children, and they just don't know it. But one thing I will say is that it is something that we go through all the time. And like I promised you guys, I'm bringing real world content, things that we go through in the real world. And a big thing that a lot of us go through, no matter who you are, is anxiety. We all go through anxiety, worrying about something that we have no control over and have no idea when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And it just sneaks up on you. And you're just unprepared for it. And anxiety is definitely one of those things that you're just unprepared for. And to be honest with you, I think everyone suffers with anxiety at some point, whether you're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, or if you have kids and you're worrying about how your kids are going to be. You know, there are things like that. It's really tough to be able to think or have your mind focus when you're suffering with anxiety. And so everyone has suffered with it at some point in their life. And for those of you who haven't, comment down in the bottom how you avoid an anxiety, because I know for a fact, like I say, I'm not perfect. I've been through some situations where I've had anxiety affect me, you know? And so this here is not to cure all anxiety. It's basically here to help make it a little easier for us to be able to manage, you know, and referring back to the word really helps with easing that anxiety, easing that worry of what could potentially be causing you to feel this way or be having these crazy ideas in your mind. And sometimes anxiety leads to panic attacks for some people. And I've been blessed not to get that far where I've had a panic attack, but I have gotten close, especially when, I don't know, you're just sitting there and then all of a sudden you'll start worrying about something that's out of your control. Like you start worrying about, when am I going to get that job promotion? Or when is that girl going to get me off red? Or whatever the case may be on what the anxiety is. Guys, sometimes it just takes patience. That's all it is sometimes. And you have to have faith that God is working with you to be able to get you through whatever the anxiety you're facing at that time. So, like I say, I told you guys, I always have my Bible with me, and I'm always going to be quoting scriptures from the Bible so you guys can see that connection with how times are right now. So, one topic on anxiety that God has wrote and promised us is 1 Peter 5:7. And like I say, I got my Bible right here, so I'm going to always read it to you. So, for Peter's 5:7, it says, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. I'm going to say it one more time. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. So basically, what that message, that verse that God is trying to get to us is that any anxiety you're feeling, let it go. Give it to God. Let him have it. Because he can fix it. He can take it off of you. And I don't know if you guys have ever been in a situation where you're like, oh, if I don't think about it, it won't bother me as much. It'll be in the back of my brain. And That is what God is trying to convey to us. He's like, give it to me, put it in the back of your mind, and I'll handle it. Now, I know some of you out there are like, well, how am I supposed to give this to God? You know, it's not that easy to give it to God. And you're right, it's not that easy to give it to God. That's why you got to have patience with it. You have to be able to give it to God and acknowledge that it's out of your control. One thing I always say to anybody who has ever talked to me, you got to take it one day at a time. If you start worrying about your future and your past, you can't live in the moment. A great example of living in the moment is I got to see one of my nieces crawl for the first time. Yeah. It was magical. It was very magical. And to set you guys up with the story, I was basically just sitting there on my phone watching the basketball game. I can't remember which one. It was close to Christmas time. And I saw this feeling that my niece was about to do something. So immediately I'm like, what is going on here? So I looked down at her, and she's been doing this little scooty thing where she's like trying to scoot. But this time it wasn't a scoot. This time it was something different. Now, if I remember correctly about that game, it was a really good game, tied up. Could have been a buzzer beater shot that ended the game. I can't remember. But what I do remember is that seeing her crawl for the first time was way more important than whatever that game had going on. And so by me living in the moment of her crawling for the first time, I got to enjoy it. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a lot going on at the time that I'm looking at this. But to see her crawl for the first time and being able to put it on my phone was just beautiful. I'll never forget that. So that right there is an example of living in the moment. Now, I could have been worried about a bunch of other stuff or how this game was going to end, anything like that. I could have been worried and could have took my mind off the prize, especially since I was working and I've been away from the office for that long. I could have pulled out my phone and figured out what I need to worry about when I get back to work, which is what a lot of people do, is worry about work or what we got to do later, you know? But I took my advice and lived in the moment and got to witness her crawl for the first time. It's magical. I mean, parents out there, I commend you. Seeing your kid walk or crawl for the first time or speak, it is something magical. And I will probably never forget that ever happened. And then I have it on my phone just in case, so I do never forget that it happened. So it's magical when you live in the moment, which is what we have to work on as just any human being, is living in the moment and accept that the future is out of our hands. And for those of you who want an example, you know, of God saying, you know, give it to me, he'll take care of it. Well, I'll give you an example of how that happens. The next verse is going to be, pull it on out here, 2 Corinthians 20 and 15. Like I say, got my Bible right here. Wasn't sure if you guys heard the pages turning or anything like that. So in 2 Corinthians 20:15, it says, he listened to King Josephat and all who lived in Judah and Jerusalem. This is what the Lord says to you. Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army, for the battle is not yours, but God's. I'm going to read it one more time, but just the good part, the really, really good part. Do not be afraid or discouraged because of this vast army, for the battle is not yours, but God's. Wow. So basically in this verse, God yelled out to the king and told him, don't worry. Don't worry. Guys, we're the king. Queens, that's us. We're the king in this verse. God's telling us not to worry and not to be afraid, because the future is not our battle. It has nothing to do with us. The future is not our battle. Wow. The future is not our battle. We're not supposed to know what's going to happen next. And there's a reason why. Because it's not our fight. We have to be content with living in the moment and loving each other and doing as much good as we can to get to the next place, wherever that might be for you. This right here is God telling us, who are the king and queen in this verse, do not worry. The fight is not yours. And it's true. The fight is not ours. We are not supposed to know what's going to happen in the future. We're not supposed to know that. That's not for us. That's not our fight. That's for God. God is going to be the one that worries about that fight, because he can win that fight. He already has won that fight. And you have to declare to your anxiety, this is not my fight. I can't be worrying about what's going to happen next. Like I say, that's just the way we are. Everyone has it. Someone thinks about something in the middle of the night, during the day, and it causes them to have anxiety, a fear of something that we can't control. Wow. When we can let go of that worrying about what's going to happen next, or what potentially could happen, when we let that go and give it to God, it eases our mind. Like I say, this lesson is not a teach-all, and it's not a save-all. It's to ease your mind about anxiety and not worry about it. Wow. So in this verse, we're not going to worry about it anymore. We're going to let God have it. And we're going to let him deal with it. Because he told us the fight is not ours in 2 Chronicles 20:15. Wow. So the next time we have any type of anxiety about something, we need to have patience and practice and give it to God. So I guess the 3 things we need to work on is patience, practice, and giving it to God. We have to accept the fact that we can't control what's going to happen. We have to just accept that it's not our fight. Wow. So I guess now that we know that it's not our fight, I guess the last thing we need to know is, how do we give it to God? Well, I guess you can say in many ways, praying about it is one way of giving it to God. once you pray about it and tell God that you needed the help, asking him, well, I got a verse right here for you talking about how we do that. Not how we practice, have patience, but it's something else to show you that it's something that God has said. And I think you'll understand when I read it. So this verse is coming from a verse I'm not too familiar with. I recently found it in my studies, and it's in a very different book that I haven't been in a long time, and it's Lamentations. And it's going to be verse 3 and 58. O Lord, you took up my case, you redeemed my life. Wow. I'm going to read it again. It's really powerful. It's really short. O Lord, you took up my case, you redeemed my life. Wow. He took up your case and redeemed your life. See, we don't think about it, but when we have some form of something else on our mind, it can consume our life. When you are constantly worrying about the future, about what's going to happen next, about what could happen, it has your life. It has it. It has your life. You can no longer focus on what you want to do with your life right now in the moment. Remember how I said earlier, we have to learn to live in the moment? If you let anxiety take over and zip you to the future, then it has your life. And you miss out on everything in the moment. Wow. Wow. We didn't even think like that when we're worried about the future. Anxiety takes over and it becomes our life. You don't even think about it. This verse right here is saying a man asked God to take his case. In this case, we're going to say the case is him worrying about the future. He gave that to God, and now his life is his again. He can now live in the moment, enjoy the time that he has with family, friends, the significant other he has or she has. He got his life back. Wow. So, I guess to say, for everything we talked about today, when it comes to anxiety, we got to do these 3 things. That's patience, practice, and give it to God. Wow. We got to ask God to take the case. Well, that's all I got for today. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below so you guys can tell me what you want me to talk about next time. And until then, same as always, we're going to bless it up together.